give a round of applause to Team 1.
Hi, so welcome to Team 1. I'm going to introduce us really quick. We have Johannes, we have Stefan, we have Morgan, and I'm Catherine. And I'm going to start by telling you a little story. So when I found out I was accepted to Edu Design Shop, I started jumping up and down because I was so excited to come here because I had a huge problem. I am an educator, been an educator for 25 years, history teacher, I thought, 4th grade teacher for 12 years, media literacy specialist, and brand new director of academic technology. And in my interview for my brand new job, my boss said, "Can you build me a fab lab?" I said, "Fantastic. All right, you need to teach engineering and you need to get the fab lab up and running." I'm a history person. I have no engineering background. Where do I go for resources? And our company, One Vision, is going to solve that problem. It's going to give me curriculum, it's going to give me training, and it's going to give me a community of professionals and teachers to help us move forward.
Awesome. So when Catherine got here, we really wanted to find a way that we could help her out as much as possible. Kind of going on those 3 topics she talked about: curriculum, that support group from the community, and then the resources in your community. So our solution was to have a mobile engineering bus that really focuses on teacher development. There's a lot of programs out there that look at, for example, at my school, the local science museum would come and do experiments, and it was great and inspiring and everything, but then they left. And they were gone and we forgot because, well, there was nothing left to do. So what we have here is that our program is that we have an online site, a portal that has all this information for teachers. Then our team pairs with teachers and students. They work together in professional development. They test it out here in this section where the students and the teachers are in action. And then when the teachers leave, they're still able to access this information via a portal that we've created online that we actually have right here running. So, yep. Okay. Well, not really. It's cool. Thanks so much.
So 2 minutes of questions, judges. Team 2, can I have you come up to this side of the room? And can we have any clarifying questions for Team 1, please?
Did I hear it was a bus?
Yeah, so the idea was that it would be an engineering adventure sort of truck bus thing. But really that's just the vehicle for our mechanism to transport our community of experts, of mentors, of rock star high schoolers who would inspire kids, and then also the people with the knowledge to inspire teachers as well. And to bring resources, because I'm from a place in Ohio that, it's not Boston, it's not San Francisco. We don't have huge tech. We have lots of resources, but maybe people don't know. So that would be one thing that our group would really work on is when our team is there, they would look around, they'd talk to your community and figure out what resources they can help pair you up with.
Can you please clarify some dissemination tactics?
Yeah, exactly.
How would people find out about you?
Oh, well, one of the things we would do is a lot of outreach. We would go to conferences. We would have direct mailing to schools. We would work with professional organizations, and we would get partnerships with like the Engineering Society and outreach that way.
And also because we have this great online portal, we can also share these resources through places that people already share things. So if we have great engineering projects, put them on Instructables. We find code, put it on SourceForge, Pinterest. I mean, there's lots of projects there.
So you have your own that you
Yeah.
on these others.
Yes.
Okay. And how many buses are there? Like, I'm just getting a sense. What is the sense of scale you guys are thinking about? Is there one per teacher per school, or?
So realistically, we need to scale up over time. The idea was that within we'd have 1 year of kind of planning, gathering resources, and the idea would then be to start with about a small group, like maybe a couple buses, and try and hit a region of the United States, take, for example, the Midwest or a little bit farther west, where we're not near one of those innovation hubs. Then as information spreads about our program, partnerships would increase, and then we'd be able to spread even more.
Can you tell us about some of the obstacles and how you'll overcome them?
No obstacles. Perfect.
Without any further ado, Team 2.
Hi, my name's Jay. This is Kelly, Amy, Roberta, and Caitlin. And we want to talk about smog. Not too long ago, this was not that uncommon. What made the difference that made buildings of today much more green? Which one do I have? We believe it was the LEED certification. That gave people a target to shoot for, and we ended up with a lot more green buildings around the world. What's our problem in school today? We think a major problem is that learning is just disconnected from students' lives. Face it, the students are bored. How can we solve this problem? Get real, or relevant, empowered, active learning. When we talk to middle school students, and that's the age group that we're planning to target, and we say, what's important to you? Believe it or not, they don't say what A over B is when divided by X. What they say is things like, well, it's hard to get out of bed in the morning. How can we take a problem like this and turn it into a learning opportunity? We really just need to get real. When we do, we see things like this. These students have designed a bed that actually tips you out in the morning. How do we implement this program? First of all, we benchmarked the best practices. There are many groups out there that are doing great work, such as NewView, the Real World Learning Network, or this very design workshop. Then we build a prototype program. We take some of these best practices and really try to make it happen in the schools. And we develop the certification. We figure out what the important criteria are, and we list it out. And then we go viral. And I would click that, except that I can't. Vote for us. Get real. Thank you.
Awesome. Can I get them to step over for some questions? And can I get team 3 down here, please?
I have no idea what you're trying to do. Can you quickly explain that?
What?
One question at a time.
So we want to do more project-based learning, but it's not just project-based learning. It's project-based learning where the students are engaged in a problem in their own life, and they're using design principles like we've learned here in this workshop to solve problems in their own life.
Student initiated.
Is this a link? I can open it for you.
Yeah.
It's complicated. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the curriculum
virus.
changing.
Are you proposing some curriculum changing or extracurricular approach?
Certification. And we expect that many schools would meet that certification by changing their curriculum. But if they wanted to do it through an after-school program, maybe that's, it's up to them. So it's sort of setting a goal and letting everybody figure out how to hit that goal.
And looking at different models that incorporate these criteria.
Best practices.
Yeah.
Is there a way of incorporating curricular material as it already exists into your program?
That's an excellent question. We believe that a lot of the current curricular stuff is sort of a part and parcel of this type of learning. So for example, one of the examples that we've talked about in our group is the kids see that the baseball field is practically useless in winter, and they realize, hey, if we put up some wooden boards and some water and let it freeze, we could turn it into an ice skating rink. That involves engineering, that involves figuring out the local zoning boards. Maybe they put a nice plaque on that where they have to get a quote, from Mark Twain about how do you get people to do your work for you by painting the fence white. So certainly could include a lot of what you normally think of as the Common Core, but please also be aware that it incorporates the 21st century, what's it called? The
21st century skills.
21st century skills aspects of the Common Core at its core.
Let's keep that round of applause going for team 3.
All right, hello everyone. We're group 3. My name is Joey. This is Miss Robin, of course, Juan and Julianne. So we're group 3, and we have a vision of the education system where schools are tapping into the human capital that already exists in the community. So what we propose to create is what's called the Communischool Mentor Database. So it's a place where teachers, students, and professionals who are living in the community can connect onto one digital platform. So we're going to show you how the website would actually work.
Okay, so say I'm on the community school website, the mentor database. And so I'm a student, so I'm going to press students. So what will show up after, let's say I'm really interested in architecture. I want to know how things are built, the plumbing, the electrical wires, all that. So I'm going to type in architecture here. Then it'll come up over here. Then I'll click on architecture. So the results are a couple people that, like mentors, professionals that have expertise in architects. So I'm going to click on Jane A. Doe. Jane A. Doe, her company is MVP. She has 10 years of experience. She likes cats and dogs. So I'm going to go connect via my school. So yeah.
And so I'm a teacher, and I have to meet the Common Core, the next generation science standards. So to do that in scientific and technical writing, I am going to match up my students to a person who could help either my gifted and talented or my special needs student in a format that works, mentorship or what.
And I am the professional. I'm the person who's looking for ways to help students, but I really don't know what to do. And I am trying to desperately find ways. Okay, so I log on to the system, I put my information, I talk to the school district, and I connect.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Team 3. That was great. Let me have you scoot on over to our panel of people in funny hats.
Question on the interface between, from the student's perspective, is it filtered through the teacher monitoring?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we would do background checks on the professionals. They would do the 8 weeks, all of that. Yes, and the parent would actually get an email.
What's the mechanism for the professional to be listed? Yeah.
So basically, every player is going to have their own profile. So we try to represent how each page is going to be different. So when he makes his profile, he's going to say, how far am I willing to travel? What are my skills? What can I bring?
How does he know to do that though? What's the dissemination?
Dissemination.
How do you?
Important.
I mean, going through professional unions, lawyers, bankers, engineering associations, et cetera, to pull in and all. So it's really broad-based.
And then it also goes to the underemployed too, so these could be opportunities for those who want to contribute and are doing other work. Example, engineers like me who are in education now who still want to teach math.
And it's also going to be on a face-to-face level. The idea is going to be spread. So imagine a time where you're at a parent-teacher conference and someone says, oh, Johnny's doing great, and next week we're actually going to be starting cardiology. Like, oh, you're a doctor. Like, you're a cardiologist. That's great. Like, do you mind coming into the school? Oh, here's an application. Are you on our mentor database? That's the informal interaction that happens sometimes in schools where there is this
motivation.
Exactly.
Yes. So that connects to the Common Core. Kids want theory to practice, right? So the teachers are providing that theory, and they want to see these things in practice. And that's where the kids come in. But also, go ahead.
And it's student motivation. So, as educators, a very frustrating problem is kids saying, when am I going to use this? So the big part of this is saying, taking the fundamental skills that your teachers are teaching you and looking out and saying, okay, so what skills are these being applied to? What fields, what industries? And I want to connect to those.
Check out Netflix.com.
Mm-hmm.
There's a company that
Hi, we're Magma Chamber, Paul, Jonathan, Victoria, and Kevin. And
this is Alex.
And he's a geometry teacher, middle school probably, and he's a very good teacher, but he's starting to lose his students, and he wants to find a way to get them more excited and fired up.
This is Jane. Jane is an architect who wants to share her passion for building and making.
Enter Matchmake, which is a great site to match up makers and educators. So we're going to use our site to take your profile information and allow makers and educators to meet up online and share material with the world.
Makers will be paired with educators based on a couple different features. So you can sort by the amount of time you have, available resources like 3D printers, standards like Common Core and NextGen, locality if you want to meet up in person, and skills like your profession and stuff like that.
Okay, so the site itself will have project material, both videos, step-by-step instruction, and you'll be able to actually put new projects up as you collaborate with other people, as well as remix old projects. You'll be able to also select based on Common Core and NextGen curriculum standards, different projects that cover different areas. And then we'll also have ratings and reviews of material that's not only been created by people and reviewing each other, but also people who have used the same material that was created by others. We also have an opportunity to make money on the site and make it self-sustaining by selling kits for classroom projects, sourcing materials, as also offering sponsorships for people to sponsor classroom activities. And at the end of each collaboration, people rate each other and they rate the material that they use.
Ultimately, Alex was happy because his students were now engaged and got to build their dream houses, and Jane is happy because she got to share her passion with younger students.
So everybody's happy. Big thumbs up.
All right, slide to the left. Slide to the left.
Who builds the pages?
So we thought we would actually do some initial content development as a lure, as a bait, kind of. But essentially, the educators and the makers and skill people working together would create projects.
How are you going to create the need for this in the education community? The buzz.
The idea is, I think project-based education is very much on fire, but people don't know where to start, kind of, and so we give them some seed examples, and then also by offering guidance for tying it into core curriculum standards, that people will find a way to introduce it into their classrooms.
So you call it making, but now you're talking about project-based learning. Is it project-based learning? Is it maker education? Do you?
I mean, it's a mix of both. I mean, the makers, and when we're using a broad term for makers, I mean, it could be architects, it could be craftspeople, it could be jewelry makers, it could be anything, artists, things like that. You know, you can do bookbinding with poetry in English classes, things like that.
How do you adjust that with the current governing structures?
So I think if you allow teachers to figure out a way to justify it within their requirements for covering material, they have some flexibility. And then if they don't, then you can also offer it as after-school activities and things like that. Any other questions?
Administrators, how would they react to the thing like that?
So I talked to one of the founders of 10 Marks, and one of the things that they did is they got things up through the ground roots. The teachers start using it, and then eventually it gets adapted. It goes from the bottom up. Yeah, that's our
Thank you.
approach.
All right, let's give Team 3 a round of applause. All right, Team 5, you're on deck. Let's give them a round of applause.
Hi everyone, we're Team 5, we're Curiovers. We're going to do a little role playing for you today. Okay class, today we're going to be learning about Romeo and Juliet, a timeless classic of two star-crossed lovers. It's going to be awesome.
Come on, can't we look at the website EdJam?
EdJams? What's EdJams?
It's a website full of lessons from teachers all over the world.
Can you at least look at it before we start?
Fine, I will look at EdJams. Wow, this is a really cool website. There's lots of resources on here for Romeo and Juliet. I could have my students do a rap battle. That's gotten lots of votes and stars from other teachers. Or maybe my students would really like to make a puppet show. Oh, that would be so cute. Oh, and for all my science nerds, they could do scientific inquiry of ineffective poisons. I wonder what that entails. I know, let's make Romeo and Juliet the musical. That's perfect for my students.
Yeah! Awesome.
So you guys are going to sing, and I'll film and create a remix of those Romeo and Juliet resources we saw on EdJams, and then we'll post it so other teachers and schools could use our ideas.
Great.
All right, so EdJam is an education revolution. So it'll be an online platform where teachers, students, administrators, and researchers can share best practices. This empowers teachers to mix and match what works elsewhere, all the while adapting to what works in their local context. And then they can mix, remix, post it back, share it, and get feedback. So this creates fun and engaging classes that are great and for both the students and the teachers. So forget the factory. This is education as a jam session. Thank you guys so much. Great. Can we have Teen 6 on deck?
So how is this different from all the other lesson planning websites that are out there already?
So I think the idea is to just have it more fun. Because the thing is, like, a lot of people talk about making things that are fun and engaging for students. How about making it fun and engaging for teachers? So that's the idea with like mix and match, and extend it just not from lesson plans, but also to assessment tools, to delivery methods, and also have teachers and students engaged in the process.
And we think with this idea of remixing, that you see a lesson, you're inspired, you create something new with your students, and then you post that back up. And we'd have to have curators who are paying attention and kind of monitoring what's added, but that you're adding your own content and creating an even larger repository of content that other teachers and students could be inspired by as well.
How are you actually going to do the evaluation of which are the best? Because other lesson planning sites have had a lot of issues with a lot of junk and getting to the best stuff.
Right, so I think that's a big concern of ours, that curation part, and that would take a lot of human capital and manpower to go through that. We also want to create a voting system. So, you know, we had the stars up there, and so teachers and students that are using these sources could vote and say, like, this worked really well or this didn't work so well.
I think researchers are also a really valuable resource and partners in this process.
So our major stakeholders are not just teachers, students, parents, but they're also industry people, administrators, and researchers. And so I think that'll help.
How do you involve industry?
So, I mean, we are trying to have these engaged methods. So it can be through field trips, it can be through a project-based learning, it can be through like arts or music.
This is inside the web? Sorry.
Yeah, so these methods are posted on the web. And so teachers around the world, they kind of come up with their own methods, or maybe they come up with their own remix version, and they post it online. And so this is just a platform that's online, that's accessible to everyone. And so that's where we have researchers and industry as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's hear it up for Team 6.
All right.
Makai is a failing student. He gets in trouble for running around the room, talking out of turn, falling asleep. Makai has low self-esteem, and he thinks he's bad.
So hi everyone, we are Flux and Fusion, and we decided to look at why students don't have as much fun as they grow through school. So we find that, we all know this, as once we get past 5, we just don't play anymore. And we wanted to resolve this by having a dedicated time in our education system for play specifically. And through this, we hope to increase engagement over time. We're going to do this by what we call the Play Lab, which is a modular shared space for everyone in the school system, administrators, teachers, students, to come together as collaborators in exploring new concepts.
So play can mean many things to different people. It might not just be sports and recess. Play is singing.
Play is freedom. Play is debate.
Play is exploring. The Play Lab offers a solution. It will increase creative engagement and curiosity. It will support organic experimentation and provide a safe, adaptable environment for all teachers and students to play.
And the Play Lab offers teachers and students time and space to work collaboratively across the curriculum.
The space could be a cart or a classroom, whatever kind of space you have available. It's very adaptable. It could cost nothing to whatever you want to spend for it, and the materials can be donated by the community, from parents, from businesses, And everybody in the community is welcome to be involved for mentoringship and coming in and visiting and leading lessons. The whole community is part of this project for each school.
The Play Lab. Thank you.
You're stating that everyone learns, including administration. How do they learn?
They learn together. Teachers and administrators can go in the Play Lab and actually do the things we want the kids to do, and so that they're able to sell it to the teachers, the parents, the school board, everyone. So the administrators are involved just as much as the kids are.
They say all the time they don't have time.
Well, they're gonna make time. We're gonna make time
When you're
because
having
this
a
is
good
important.
time, you make the time
It's
for
going
it.
to be it's going to be during the school day, so there will be classes that will incorporate a lab section that can come here. The teachers will be there, administrators, they need to interact with the students anyway, and this is one way for them to really get to know the students that are going to be in their school.
Perhaps I can ask the question a different way. Teachers are already pressed for time. There's not enough time in the school day. They have to teach to the test. How are you going to get them to take extra time to do play?
Okay, this comes from the administrators, because if the administrators are going to value that, if they spend time becoming creative and learning how to engage in the play type, it's going to transform over into better testing.
And the playtime is tied into the curriculum as much as the teacher or administrator wants it to be. So it can be very creative in that aspect.
And I'm a school administrator, so one thing that I play in the kindergarten. I go to kindergarten because they're always active. I sit down, I play with them, I spend that time learning my kids. And so this will give administrators time to learn their kids better, and they can serve the kids much better.
How are you going to prevent inequity in communities, communities that are better resources, having more access to such things?
This can be minimal, it can be tiny, it could be recycled materials as part of the materials. It doesn't have to be a big old...
What is it? Is it an
idea? That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, go ahead.
A campaign, a concept, a cart, like a toolkit? What is it?
Go ahead.
Go.
It's a toolkit. It's a toolkit that it can be as simple as a toolkit, it can be as simple as a cart, or it could be a whole classroom. Whatever the community has the resources to offer.
It's the time to play.
Yes.
As a concept.
Hey, we're from Group 7. We wanted to introduce to you Truckalytics. How many of you have used Yelp? How many of you have ever eaten at a food truck? How many had a great experience at the food truck? How many had an experience at a food truck? Okay. Food truck Google hits in the last 5 years have exploded from 8,300 to 28 million in the past 5 years. This shows how much the food truck industry has been disrupted in just the past few years. We want to do this in the mobile education truck space. In order to disrupt the education mobile truck space for people running these trucks, they need to know the best teaching practices, they need to know best building and material tips, and what's needed out there. And for people using and learning from these educational mobile trucks, they need to know what will you learn, what's the value of learning this way, and what are reliable reviews of the best trucks out there. Like a Yelp for Ed mobile trucks, Truckalytics accomplishes all of this. If you guys have iPhones or laptops out, you guys can type in www.truckalytics.com if you want to check it out for yourself. And we are going to model how 2 middle schoolers, I'm going to put on my middle school cap, might potentially use a website like Truckalytics, okay? Oh man, Funtropolis science truck today, Miss Frizzle's class, was so legit. That rocket flying by my face was amazing.
We should totally go review it online.
Oh, what's that website again?
Truckalytics.
Oh, all right. We have Truckalytics. And wow, I think there's even a link to Facebook and Twitter so I could tweet out how awesome Funtropolis was. All right. Thanks. And for our Q&A, we have
the owner of Funtropolis Science Truck, who uses Truckalytics to answer questions for you.
Other than One Vision Engineering, which presented here earlier, how many mobile trucks are there? Mobile ed trucks are there?
First of all, lots. Second of all, not enough. Third of all, we want to empower them to share their ideas so there'll be more. And we want to make them more effective, faster, through collaboration. They're competing in some metropolitan areas, but the one in Boston's not directly competing with the one in Houston. They could share ideas. The one in Boston could sell stuff to the one in Houston, so that's an additional fund raising source for them.
How are they competing? Like, do they?
Well, if they have the same student market, the school's not going to have 5 trucks day after day.
Schools pay them. Not even if this works.
Oh, this happens today.
Yeah, they pay the trucks to
Not necessarily trucks, any mobile education. We've actually met a lot of people who do mobile education. Come to the school, even for teacher PD, that could be a mobile ed truck. But
So are you considering any ed service as a truck?
well, any service that a school would.
There are many diverse programs right now that sort of take these really dynamic, interactive, inquiry-based experiences and bring them to the school. So it could be, I'm thinking of something through Harvard or through MIT where they're taking these learning experiences and mobily bringing them to the school site. And we heard some ideas being pitched already today for other more creative educational mobile trucks to bring in. So we're sort of anticipating a market for ed mobile trucks, but as you know, this is very emergent, very new, trying to share best practices. So as we anticipate a proliferation of these trucks, that they're able to share practices.
How will the students know to go to Truckalytics to review it?
Absolutely. So,
As a truck owner, I would want them to. On my truck, I'd have a sticker, go review me on Truckalytics so that more schools get me.
we also have to have hope to have a technology component to put into trucks that would, one, help track where they are, so hopefully to facilitate posting to our site.
And their performance. We want to empower these innovators to grow and learn and become better, faster through this data, big data analysis of what's going on in the reviews and feedback.
Wow. Great.
And team 8, thank you.
All right, so courses are traditionally designed only by teachers, but classes impact both students and their future employers. So what's the solution? The co-creation of courses that cater to the needs of all 3 groups. Welcome to SyllaBuild, an online tool that allows students and teachers to build curriculum together that focuses on employer-desired skills. Here's the landing page where students and teachers can both enter.
So you can click it if you're a student or if you're a teacher. And here you see that a teacher can begin to load in their course content, the title, some of the generic information, a course description, objectives, and then we've included these comment areas where we would develop specific questions to draw out student interests, what they hope to learn, their skill sets, resources, and ideas, as well as critical thinking about questions they have about the syllabus.
So this would allow students to have a voice in their curriculum as opposed to just accepting what is offered. So this involvement, student involvement in the process, will generate buy-in and ownership of the course before it's even begun.
Okay, and students learn a lot of marketable skills in their courses, from communication skills, learning to deal with ambiguity, teamwork skills, those are very important, but oftentimes these are not explicitly woven into the course. So the system that we've set up helps teachers weave marketable skills into the courses that they're already teaching, and helps teachers think strategically about the marketing skill sets within their courses. More exciting, students will actually have an opportunity to connect with employers because at the end of the project they'll do a write-up, and this write-up can include hashtags of those marketable skills, which employers can then search on and write comments and reviews. We feel like the real power is in the intersection of these viewpoints and what we can do by all working together.
I have a question. Did you consider any things about copyrights? Because once they produce new elements, eventually they can be copyrighted, even by students and so on, as the proposals.
So we thought about making we thought about something kind of modeled on GitHub, where the code is open source, so the projects and the lesson plans that you have are open source, but you can also choose to make them private. So we'd hope that in general people would want to make them public so that other teachers can take the idea and expand off of them.
And we could build on the foundation of Creative Commons if we so chose. I mean, people could make more open source syllabi that can be shared and can be flexible. So, thank you.
What's the timing for a student to engage the co-building?
So if in an ideal world, if the class is starting in the fall and students have already signed up for classes now, they'd get an email inviting them in. But it can happen anytime up until the first week or so of the class.
Is the focus high school?
We began the conversation with college, but we also realized we expanded it so it would be a parallel process for high school as well. And part of it would be also cross-institution, sharing resources, ideas.
So is there a way that you can get a promise of teachers, and once they've crowdsourced these ideas, that they actually use some of them? Is there a benchmark for a teacher to know that she or he did a good enough job at taking the student feedback?
Well, we actually really are ready to do this fall. So I'm on board with my course, Museum Studies, at MCLA in North Adams.
Very good.
And partnering with Brown and also MIT.
Any more questions? All right, thank you.
All right, put your hands together for Team 9. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. We are Team 9, the Kinetic Catalysts, and I'm wondering, teachers and parents in the room, have you ever noticed this phenomenon where 6th graders come into the school year all bright-eyed and eager to learn, 7th graders starting to get a little bit less interested, and 8th graders are just like totally checked out, too cool for school? That's the problem that we want to address. We've got 3 different kinds of learners who are feeling disconnected for 3 different reasons. One kind of learner just doesn't understand what school has to do with their everyday life. Another might be feeling too advanced and like they've got passion interests that just aren't being explored. And a third kind might be feeling like they've gotten the message that they're just not good students, they're not successful, and so why should they care?
And so what the broad strokes of what we want to do is to re-energize middle school using design thinking and project-based learning. So we've developed a program called Catalyst, and the 3 main components of it are teacher development, sequence learning, and then a system of supports. So this whole program would be kicked off with something called a design-a-thon. We're viewing the program sort of as a one-stop shop for teachers who want to do project-based learning. So the design-a-thon would be where teachers and designers would get together to develop project ideas. And we've developed a sequence of what this program would look like from 6th through 8th grade. And so you'll see there's a design-a-thon during the summer before each year. And students move gradually towards becoming more autonomous and self-guided in their project-based learning. And we also developed a system of documentation and reflection that happens on an ongoing basis. And that's used as assessment and also can be accessed by other learners and educators.
So the supports that our teachers would get include hopefully innovation labs within their schools, online learning communities where they can share what's working and what's not, starter kits to get them going on these project-based modules, and finally an expo celebration where everyone can share the work they've done.
All right, Team 10, thank you so much. Great. Can I get this is Team 9. Can I get Team 10?
What's the dissemination plan for getting this out into the wild?
It's a great question. So I currently work in the Bronx with about 44 New York City public schools, and so we would absolutely love to start there. We have a lot of teachers who are looking for ways to innovate their practice. So we would basically recruit teachers to participate, and they would sign on. Obviously, the schools and the administration would need to sign off on this, and we would want to develop a system so that we're following a track of students and gradually building capacity over the 3 years.
So our hope is that those initial teachers would become like ambassadors, spreading the message about this program to other teachers within their school and to other communities as well.
Oh, sorry. No. What is the motivation of teachers to become recruiters for this process?
I think if they see the value, the transformative power of design thinking and project-based learning within their own classrooms, they're going to be excited to share that message.
But they complain already that all the time is already taken.
But it only takes a few minutes to tell a friend about a great experience in school.
There's also like plenty of teachers right now, sorry about my voice, who already care a lot about trying to implement project-based learning, and they just don't know where to turn to, like it's been mentioned before. And so we want to be able to generate projects for different subjects in different age ranges, where people can know, okay, there's been a symposium with really smart people trying to figure out the best answer to this problem. We can just go to there and see what their solutions were. And that's how we can really get the word out about this to the world.
Are they just building curriculum during that time, or are they also like doing it themselves or building their own skills?
Yeah, it's actually both. So they're developing actual curriculum to implement, and then they're also gaining skills for design-based approaches to learning. So they're getting more comfortable with it. They're getting to experience it firsthand themselves. And
Not
then roll
unlike
it
the
out.
design shop.
Thank you.
Let's move it over for. Let's give it up for Team 10.
We are Boxed In, Boxed Out, also known as BIBO, Marion, Marley, and Anna. And our idea is looking at the question, how can we design student education that matches the learning style of every student? We found that the gap right now is that in traditional classrooms, their projects and curriculums are designed to deliver uniform experiences to a diverse group of students. So how are we going to fix this?
You know, Bible gave us this database of information, and I think they have something on the theme of energy. And our students can choose whichever thing they want. Hey, Mark, you want something?
Sure, let's see.
There you go, take a look.
I'm going to do this one farm to table. The question is how much energy is needed to produce a week of food in different countries.
So this is just an example of one of the projects that we can use. We hope to create a database where ultimately students and teachers can find a variety of projects and resources, and then also extend this so that students can form communities online to showcase projects with their peers around the world. So what do we need to do? First of all, this is a very ambitious project, so we're going to roll this out in sort of multiple phases. The first is just over the summer to sort of build outreach, talk to the teachers, build a spreadsheet of projects that already exist, because there are resources out there in different topic areas, and there are also resources that are just project-based, but we want to tie this so it goes with the curriculum, with the standards. We also want to identify pilot participants and sort of build our team and expertise. So in the upcoming school year, in the fall and spring, we want to have an initial pilot, sort of build our technical database and everything that we really want to include. As far as the budget goes, I mean, this is something that takes a lot of money and time. The biggest thing actually will be in the technical implementation and the rollout, but there's also meetings and such. So we just want to thank everyone at Design Shop, and we are welcome to help your questions now.
So if there are as many students and types of learning styles, how are you going to match student learning styles to the number of kinds of activities there are? Are there going to be recommendations for teachers? Are there going to be ways of helping them assess their students' styles other than self-report? I mean, what have you got in mind for that?
Well, I think a lot of those things exist, and some of the products that were brought forth are doing that. We want to bring forth open-ended things like Makey and Legos that the students can use for many reasons.
But we want to create the database and then narrow it down by theme and give the student the opportunity to choose what appeals to them in terms of a process. Maybe it's pretext, maybe it's some other type of project-based opportunity. So it's really putting the control in the student's hands.
And if they decided not to use this opportunity?
They could do
They have to choose.
Well, this is actually a model that can actually depend on what this teacher is also doing as well. So we don't really want to push students into silos, into buckets, into tracks. They can actually move from one thing to another. Maybe they want to learn about the physics of musical instruments, but in another time they would rather just sort of have a traditional lecture style book, or maybe they would rather watch a video for another topic.
My question is, if they keep on giving up one after the other, oh, I don't really want that. No, give me another one, and another one, and at the end they actually didn't full experiment anything.
Well, they can also tweak the projects that are there that the teacher proposes, or they can come up with their own project and talk to the teacher and work with the teacher more as a mentor or facilitator.
So they can
And then the teacher can put that project up on the project database if it was successful, and then other teachers can use it.
The learning is about experimentation.
And I hear kids are naturally creative.
So each student uses their own.
Each student is their own, yes.
Does their own,
Yes.
separate.
Or if they want to work in a group, they can. They have that option.
Let's give a round of applause for Team 11.
Hi, I'm Roxy Archibald. I'm from Team 11, and this is Gabriel. We are just a team of 2. And what we worked on for the past 48 hours was developing something called Test Plus. And what we found, we've had major technical difficulties, so. Okay, well, no, okay. Well, one of the major problems, I mean, as you've seen, this is just fantastic, all of the ideas that have been thrown out. But in order to really make these ideas possible and happen in the classroom, we've realized that one of the major problems is that it's not that standards aren't aligned to real-life 21st century skills like innovation, creativity, collaboration, because the Common Core actually does encompass these. It's just that they're not assessed on standardized tests. So this is currently how we are assessing, and as you can see, there's no collaboration taking place here. There's no innovative thinking at all. So in comes our plan. Are we using assessment to build the next generation of citizens? No.
How can we assess those skills? So the idea behind Test Plus is that it adds practical observation into the standardized testing model through technology. And our plan is to leverage current technology being developed at the world's top universities, like MIT, Harvard, Stanford, with their, for example, here a signature track which allows for distance certification, virtual IDing, and cloud mentorship, and integrate it into the K-12 environment. What can it do? It makes way for innovation in the classroom to be widespread. It expands assessment time. It assesses 21st century skills in a better way. It captures skills that aren't being captured already. It's progressive testing, and it's awesome. Thank you.
You just slide to the left. I should play that song every time. Awesome. Thanks. Team 12?
Yeah.
Yes.
What it is, yeah.
So essentially what it is would be an alternative form of assessing some of the 21st century skills using the online technology that has already been developed by some of the major universities.
What does it do?
Well, basically, we would lobby to integrate technology into the classroom so that it can.
What are you trying to capture? What are you doing? Are you using video or are you using, what are you doing?
Collaborative skills and different 21st century skills that aren't being tested on,
Okay, so if
but
they're
that you can
videoed,
only
how would
capture
they
using
be
technology.
evaluated? Who would be doing the evaluation?
Members from the industry, just general members from the industry would be tasked to do this. So collaboratively, they would be trained for 6 months to be able to certified testers so that they can successfully assess using this technology remotely.
Yeah, ours was mostly conceptual, like based rather than like here's a product that can actually go through. It was just the idea of there are already so many products out there, but innovation within the classroom is not the norm across the United States. It happens in very specific districts, usually wealthy ones, because within other schools the focus is on, okay, here are the standards that are being tested when my student is sitting here. I need to focus on that. Collaboration is not assessed. I don't have room to focus on those skills, while actually those are the most important skills to really pave the way for the future generation working in industry.
Yeah, so it helps. So if we integrate it and it counts for the standardized test, maybe 5% or 2% for the first 3 to 5 years, then you can push for more teachers to be teaching 21st century skills.
If it holds just as much weight as the standards that are assessed on the MCAS or the PARC, therefore it will be taken care of in the everyday setting in the classroom just as well. So.
3.0a. Represent and solve problems involving multiplication.
Right, test date. Excuse me. No hats in my classroom. Will you please take that hat off? Thank you. All right, everybody, what are you looking at? No. Okay. 3 times 4. Do it. Right now. Right now. Look, you don't know it, don't you? Scene. Ethan, will you tell me what the number 3 stands for in this equation?
It's like the amount of something in the equation.
Will you agree? Class, do you agree?
Sure.
Great. Tina, will you please tell me what the number 4 stands in this equation?
How many times, the number of times that we need to
Do it.
add the threes?
Class, do you agree? Yes, you agree. Ethan, will you please stand up? He's a 3rd grader, so he's like, Ethan, he's standing up. Fail, teacher fail. That's okay. It's human nature to fail, and that's okay. So check it out. Ethan, you have these 3 things, right, that you're going to do. Will you please come up with a set of 3 movements?
1, 2, 3.
Nice. Ethan, you have to use those 3 movements, and how many times are you going to repeat them?
4 times.
Will you please show me that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
3 times 4 is?
12.
Class, I can't hear you. 12. All right. So the problem that we've identified is that standardized education produces students that are not engaged. Our solution is we're going to make fun project-based learning. How are we going to do that? We're going to use dance and all the arts, do it all together. What are we going to do after that? We're going to collect the data. After we collect the data, we're going to show it to policy changers. We're going to tell them, you need to do this. After we do that, they're going to like us on Facebook, give us money, and arts integration will happen. Everybody will have fun.
Thank you so much, Team 12. Awesome.
And they live happy ever.
Happily ever after.
Happily ever after.
By the way, we should say that we're not really only testing for grades. We're not only collecting data for grades, we're collecting data for engagement. We want students to feel engaged.
For a question.
Oh, yeah.
So, do you think administrators are going to have fun also with the fun?
Think who?
The administrators. Are they going to have fun?
I
And
think
why?
so. I think they're going to have fun, first of all, because they're going to see the whole community of the classroom changing and the students having fun with it. And they're going to be like, whoa, this actually works. Our students are engaged. Our students are doing fun things, and they want to be here. Whereas before, they really didn't want to be here. So fun is going to come from the students from the ground up into the whole school community.
And can you control the fun?
Yes, because it's structured chaos.
Well, you control it because these are not just activities that we're doing to play games. These are we're designing the activities all student-centered and all connected to the Common Core, and based on student interest. So it's fun learning, but it's also guided explorations that the teacher is doing.
And if the teacher does not want to do it?
Well, if the teacher doesn't want to do it, it's one of the things where you can't, it has to start in a way, you have to start with the teacher. It's one of those things where if the teacher doesn't want to do it, well, then this is not the right thing for that teacher. It's one of the things, maybe it's one of the things where
Also, teachers, you identify a teacher that would be willing to prototype this in their classroom. And as the buzz of the students being successful and engaged, the word spreads and it grows out within your community.
Thank you.
It's an activity within the day? Like they use it.
Yes.
You imagine it's 5 minutes a day from every one of their teachers, or how? What does it look like?
It can grow in any direction.
Yeah, the
From
idea is
5
that-
minutes all the way through the whole day. Experiential learning, collaborative learning, all different kinds of learning.
All right, so put your hands together for Team 13.
All right, thank you. Leadership for tomorrow depends on how we educate our students today, especially in science, technology, engineering, and math. President Obama, September 2010. STEM-based jobs are expected to grow 2 times as fast as any other jobs. 1 million additional STEM-related grads are needed over the next 10 years, but the pipeline is small and we're not capturing a large enough group to meet that need. By broadening the pipeline, by engaging students in STEM early, we can make it, by making it fun, by making it interesting, and appealing to a larger group, we can connect them and increase and capture more people in the pipeline, more students in the pipeline. Our idea, connect middle school students with Ingenium. Our shipping container filled with tools, supplies, all the stuff that you might just find around. And this is designed in such a way that it allows students to design, develop prototype solutions to the challenges that they want to tackle, making STEM relevant, interesting, and expanding the number of students in the pipeline. How does it work? The students identify, or the community members identify local issues. We work to curate those projects, and through the curation process, the students and the teachers work to select what those projects might be, and then the container is dropped off once that particular school is selected. The unique features of this is that we're targeting middle school students, and again, these are the middle school students that are able to would be interested in tackling the project. Low cost shipping container is about approximately $3,000. The stuff inside, very low tech. It involves the community. It's scalable, and in terms of timing, we can load up and roll this out in about a month.
Great, thank you. Just come on over. All right, Team 14, where you at?
Custom container-based projects.
No.
Did I get it right? No.
Containers aren't custom.
They are custom. Go ahead. So the containers are meant to be filled with just art, with stuff that we aren't afraid to be, not afraid to be broken. So they're very low tech, plastic bottles, wires, anything that you might find around. So again, we're trying to keep the cost down, very low tech, things that we're not afraid of students breaking. And as I said, the shipping containers are about $3,000.
Who would buy this and how would they find out about it?
Who would make the?
Who would buy this and how would they find out about
So
it?
that's part of our funding model. So we've talked about many things, whether it be recruiting corporate sponsorship and perhaps connecting into organizations like the National Science Foundation and others. And I don't know. Do you guys want to add?
Would teachers be able to use the stuff in the container?
Yes.
I mean, how are they prepared?
Yeah, so our hope is actually to get maybe graduate students studying design to help facilitate this container so they know the design process. So they come in, they're the ones who do all of the sort of curriculum planning up front. They know how to run the process. So for the teachers, they're not paying for the materials, they're not doing any curriculum planning. We're trying to make it easy for them. So the students or someone in the community submits these ideas, we curate them, say this is a great problem, we want to figure out how do we use this empty lot in the community. We come in and then we work with the students to sort of help them develop solutions for that.
Is it a rental model, like the container comes for a certain amount of time, or is it a permanent model?
Yeah, so we're trying to figure out what the right time frame is, and Steve suggested 3 weeks is probably a good time frame, and I think it's something you would probably prototype and try to figure out, because one question is how long do we have the students for on a day-to-day basis? Are they there for the whole day or just a couple of hours? So I think it's something we'd prototype.
And I think the idea was that we were imagining it, leaving it there for 3 to 4 weeks to allow time for the students and the school to feel ownership, and then move it off to the next.
And put your hands together for Team 14.
All right. Summer school sucks. Let's be honest. So I'm a kid, I failed my math class. I'm going to go in for a couple of months and do the same lectures I just did in the same stodgy old classroom I just sat in all year. We can do better than that. So let's enter the Lens classroom. And so this is a classroom that is designed to enable individualized curriculum through the lens of educational gaming. So let's talk about this for a second. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think, step one, chuck all the chairs out the window. Burn the desks. Let's clear out the physical space. Step two, let's put in some new stuff, but keep it more open. Let's put in some whiteboards. Let's put in some TV consoles and some gaming consoles. And let's start to think about what this looks like. Let's take an example of a math class. The kids are all working on their own topics. Some are doing common denominators. Some are multiplying fractions. And we are all working on different things. And your teacher is getting constant formative assessment data from the input of the game. And they're walking around with this tablet, and instead of being behind the desk, they are walking up to individual students who they're seeing, oh man, common denominators isn't going so hot for Jimmy. So you go over and you do what you want to do as a teacher, one-on-one tutorial work. And the students are engaged and they're excited because this is nothing like the classroom that they're used to. It's loud, it's exciting, it's interactive. It's great. And so this is not just for math. We use this as a really great example, but we hope to be able to grow beyond that into other subjects and into other phases of active learning that this type of classroom environment would enable.
So you just describe a sort of edutopia, but how do you get there?
So I guess the main point is how to combine experience of have a clean environment in the class with a gaming, so a platform looked with that in which you can provide a really real task to the students and using math to accomplish something really real. So how we can make the experience of the summer be something different they already had in the previous year. So that's the combination of the experience plus the content.
And I think we saw summer school as this opportunity to try something new, try something flexible, try using within the space of the classrooms as they exist, but removing what's there and trying to reimagine what that space can be.
So it's like summer school in an arcade in a way.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And how to infuse what's in these games. We love games, right? So what's in these games and how can we infuse academic content in those games? And that's kind of where we need to go next, is developing games that has the kind of academic language, academic literacy, and academic content that that kids will be exposed to through what they're already being engaged and motivated to do at home. So now, they're doing it in a new space.
Is there a mechanism to stay out of the fringe and enter the center and take on, because we can create a million alternative programs. So here you have this idea you're going to test in the summer school, pretty safe for districts.
Yeah.
How do you push against the center? How do you go?
Or is it meant to be there? Or is it intentionally there? Like this is specifically to help bring people like.
I think if a model works, people are going to be excited by it. And if you're using gaming, if you access that private gaming developing world that has a ton of money, schools and administrators are probably going to be pretty
What about
excited.
parents? Are they going to be excited to send the kids to do video games?
If the kids like it and the kids are learning well and the kids are doing better on tests, I think the parents are going to like it too.
Okay.
Let's put our hands together for Team 15.
All right, so if I could have you guys all look under your chairs, tell me if you have a purple Post-it note. I think you're going to find that most of you do not. Only about 30% of you have a Post-it note. The reason for that is because 30% is about the percentage of students that are engaged in classrooms today, and it's also the percentage of teachers that find meaningful time to do collaboration. Now me, I was a product of No Child Left Behind. I was asked to memorize information, I was asked to take multiple choice tests. And now that I'm a first year teacher, I rely on that, how I was taught, to inform my students. And so I ask, what resources do I have in order to make my curriculum when I'm expected to do Common Core and make it more engaging? I have two, basically. One, my textbook, which is still NCLB structured, which still has multiple choice, which is still not very real world applied. And I have my fellow teachers who've also been teaching NCLB for many years, and we don't have enough time to collaborate. So what options do I have?
All right, so for teachers like Will, we invented OpenBox. So OpenBox is a platform that involves communities of teachers, of students, of parents, administrators, college students, and businesses. They brainstorm real life, real world, relevant challenges that teachers and students can then go into the classroom and solve. So here's how it works. Will can go online, make a profile, specify some things about his class, like the grade, the subject, the concept. He orders a kit.
Have a delivery.
He gets delivered. So he can either choose one for us to surprise him with. And so if he does, on the big day, he opens it with his class. And ta-da, it's a surprise. It's a real world, relevant challenge for Will, for his students to solve. And so OpenBox there are no right or wrong answers. It's about fun, it's about engagement, it's about learning. And so at the end, students are tasked with the task to reteach this to their teachers, and then they go back with feedback, with advice, and this collaboration is key.
All right.
Who's going to pay for all of this? Who's going to pay for all of
This
this?
is like think about it as a Red Box or a Netflix subscription. You get the box, you've already paid for it. When you return it, you actually get some money refunded back. Or if you return the results of the project, you get it back. So this is a for-profit funded model by the consumer.
And so those which don't have the ability to do it, communities with challenges, they're not inside this project.
We bring in foundation support, absolutely, yeah.
And what was that last piece you said really fast about students teaching it back to their teachers?
So it's more of a reflective model as well. So if the students have the mastery of whatever it is that they've learned and they can teach it back to the instructor, that is the highest level, if you will, of teaching. And that's what we're hoping now. We're kind of like challenging that and now bringing it back. The students teach us, the teachers.
An example of one of the challenges, sort of like a Birchbox, like all these other consumer
there's
boxes.
one in the box.
What was it?
There was a problem in the box. Basically, I was telling him about a time I traveled to Rwanda. There's a big problem with like maintaining water and like not having to travel far. So there's a problem statement in there that says, you know, here's some materials, construct something that is able to make the water transportable, that you can travel with it, that you can easily, you know, access it so that you don't have to be, you know, traveling twice a week with your class to get water or, you know, et cetera. So we just put whatever was in what was accessible to us in the design shop. So obviously we would maybe pre-think a little more what we would give the students. But, you know, we sort of leave it up to them to be creative and see what they come up with. There's no real right or wrong answer.
But the beauty is that it maps back to standards you can actually use in the real world. So this is a real model that you can use. Comes to you in a box, and the teacher is on the same side as the students because we're all trying to problem solve together. It democratizes the classroom.
Right, and more importantly, I think this notion of collaboration. So Will is one. I think everybody in this room is one and wants to build. So we want to harvest that and, you know, build it organically from the bottom up, you know, to make sure
And
that
if you make a mistake, how do you correct it? If you have the wrong box content to this person, how do you correct this?
I mean, really being flexible, like that's something that you need, that's a skill you need to have in the real business world. Kind of using what you have, be creative, make solutions.
We'll send you another one.
All right, so put your hands together for Team 16.
Hi, I'm Ted, and this is Kelsey, and we are the hands-on team projects team, also known as Hot Projects.
Okay, so our problem is very basic. We have a lot of, all over the world, communities that don't have resources and who lack hands-on education and learning opportunities. And also in these communities, in every community, you're always going to find problems that affect yourself or quality of life. So we wanted to see what would happen if students tried to solve these problems.
So our goal is to empower young people in developing countries and low-resource communities to recognize problems in their community and actually address them, tackle them head-on. We're going to be providing a valuable learning experience that they can't get from a traditional classroom setting.
Okay, so we have a little bit of storyboard for you. So first, the students are identifying a problem in their community. So in this case, they need to cross a stream in order to go home.
All right, so we're going to pair them with a trained facilitator, as well as they're going to have access to a dedicated space equipped with an internet-connected computer and a basic maker space with construction tools and materials.
And then they're going to do background research on their problem and in their community.
We're giving them a web platform so they can look online, see what other teams have done in the past, document their project as they're going along, and share their projects, get feedback from other students elsewhere, and be connected with resources.
And then they're going to use what they've learned through their internet research and by applying the education that they've had so far to solve this problem. So in this case, they're trying to build a footbridge over the river.
Sometimes they'll fail. They'll learn to deal with failure, to learn from their mistakes.
And also they're using resources found in their community. And the students will eventually find an effective solution after trial and error.
And then students can help later students to find projects, to identify challenges.
And we work with other organizations to do this.
Thank you.
How do you surpass the trial and error continuation? How do you actually incentivate it to keep on trying?
From the beginning, we want the students choosing projects that they're passionate about. So we want to go through a process, not just of brainstorming, coming up with something and starting to work on it, but actually convincingly enthusiastic and interested in solving the problem. So for example, if they're fixing open gutters, or there's a stream in front of their house that they need to cross, or if there's fly infestation, or if it's there's not enough lighting, or these are going to be problems that are important to them, to people in their community.
But who supervises that?
So the facilitator is going to, we're thinking to recruit recent college grads. They can do it as a service with a small stipend, kind of like Teach for America or Teach for India.
So who pays for it?
We're talking about having a nonprofit organization, so we would require funding, but we're working with minimal infrastructure, and we're not hiring a professional. We're hiring someone just out of college. In India, where we're planning to pilot this, there is no lack of recent college grads who are looking for jobs.
I guess, how do you get beyond the trial and error method?
I mean, they have an incentive to want to do better because it affects their community,
Right,
makes their lives better.
But it's not just trial and error. They have access to vast online resources and people to guide them in accessing those resources, to previous projects, but to Wikipedia, to Google. So it's not just trial and error. They would actually benefit from everyone else's experience, from Instructables, for example.
And in any great learning experience, in any great process, when you're doing experiment, you're going to fail and you're going to learn from it. So it's good fun.
Great. Thank you. Okay, well, one of the issues we have today in the education system is we don't have enough time to try and to fail. Failure is rendered invisible, and we're only allowed to see the success at the end. You try again, you can fail again, and you can fail better, fail forward, and fail early and often. There's a tradition of failure, experimentation, and documentation we need to continue to nurture lifelong learners and to destigmatize failure and success.
So we came up with the fail-proof epic fail journal, which is a kind of documentation tool for students to kind of learn from their mistakes. And our kind of mission statement with this is to encourage documentation of experiences in a way that will help visualize and understand successes and failures so that you can understand them and help you be more productive in the future.
Yeah, so we want them to take agency and engage in the world, and we don't want them to do this without fail. So we want it to be more than a journal, more than a lab notebook, but less than just fixed lessons, because we want them to uncover these themselves. So we want to make something that they find the way things break. Epic fails give info that gives vital info to the next stage. So we want this to stay analog. It's important that you take this places you wouldn't bring your computer or your PowerBook. It's like you want to take this into the field and be recording things as you go. So in some ways we want to maybe make it weatherproof, but other ways maybe maybe it'd be good if it could like you could also compost it or something, you know, like, and it might like grow, like kind of take your failures and make them grow up to the next stage.
So changing that F to P, we can progress, prototype, a lot of things. And the learning is the whole process. So to actually make this happen, we can create a team to put the content in the journal notebook. And the best part of it is that it's easy. Everyone can use it. It's also
Yeah, we're
low-cost
thinking
investment.
pre-printed templates or grids, like there might be stencils or stickers depending on the age group, but like there might be prompts and visual examples about how other people do this process, and we can engage with people in the community to show how they fail.
Thank you so much, you guys. Scoot on over to your judges. I just realized the judges, it feels like a design critique, so it's like so perfect, the way it's set up.
So who's going to put the seed money for a thing like this?
We're the compost for the seed money.
Could you guys move over a little more to the camera?
Sorry. But the partnerships we were thinking would be schools, any schools, so that every student has an access to it. And
It might be sponsored by a community organization or something to like develop it, but we're hoping to be able to give boxes of them to like a class to test it in a classroom or something like that.
And the idea is, I was just going to say, the idea that we didn't get to mention in our presentation is that it's going to be used in the realm that's in between school and the extracurricular activities. Because in school you have the structure of the classroom and the teacher to support you. At the YMCA or the Boys and Girls Club you have that structure to support you. But in the activities in between, on the bus rides, when you're at the park, things like that, when you're doing your hobbies, this is where you kind of make the connections between what you're learning about in the classroom and how it's applied in the real world. And so this is kind of your tool to help you.
That's definitely the hope, and we can see how it's used. And there's a thing where you can like maybe you make a prototype and it can fail, but can you take a failure and make a prototype next? Like, can that go both ways? So maybe if it works in classrooms, teachers can use that to like have an alternate route past F to turn your F into a P on the paper or something.
How much is this going to rely on already developed literacy skills?
Well, that's another thing that we're thinking about, is that it can help with that, because by documenting you can practice your writing, your ability to communicate visually, your drawing.
I think there's drawing maps, like making playlists, kind of
Yeah.
like play testing your own like cycles, so then you can see if it has replay value. Like, was that mistake, like, is it make fertile information, like in doing those things? Like,
It's not necessarily a written journal, it's a journal of just communicating visually, so whatever that may be.
yeah, but you might do fiction experiments or something to like come up with. I mean,
Put a
it's
prize
but
for the
there's
epic
open space.
failure, and
That's
that's
great.
great.
There's this template.
Great.
We're thinking two different sides. That either it has kind of like something that you can compare and maybe share online that does use a fixed template, but also always open space to like ideate as well. So, but
How do you get administrators and others to buy into this?
Just give
Hopefully
it
you
to students
insert it,
first and
right.
start from the bottom up. Have the kids bring them in.
Thank you.
Let's give a round of applause to Team 18.
Great, wonderful. Well, first of all, thank you. We want to introduce all of you to our friend Alex. Alex is a person and a thing. And one of the questions we wanted to answer was, how can we advise Alex so that he or she is aware of his or her life choices? And part of us introducing you to Alex is explaining a little bit about who Alex is. Alex is a low-income minority student. He's in the 10th, he or she is in the 10th grade, and they're a good student, but most importantly, he or she is not aware of the vast array of resources available to them. So Alex is confused. You know, he or she is interested in a lot of different topics, but doesn't really know where to go. The counselor at the school is a little bit overtaxed. There's 1,200 students in the high school and doesn't really have time to sit down and do career counseling with them. The teacher's overwhelmed because there's 30 kids in the classroom and they have to try to, you know, also grade and spend a lot of time doing things related to the curriculum. But Alex wants to explore his or her life opportunities. So we wanted Alex to meet Alex. And Alex is an innovative online low-cost platform that connects students that don't know what choices they have to professionals in the community, peers, researchers, professors who can talk to them a little bit more about what opportunities are available to them. So it's really important for them to connect with these people. So Alex creates an online profile and can interact with all of these different stakeholders who are interested in Alex, knowing what kind of choices he or she has as far as career or college opportunities. And we want to emphasize the college and career readiness, because college may be for some students, maybe not for others. So.
Well, they already have a website in Portuguese. I saw it was written in Portuguese.
How is it low cost?
How is it low cost? Well, because we're going to be, once we launch it, we're hoping to sustain the platform mainly online, because we know that, for some students it's hard for them to physically get to people. So if you're in a neighborhood, maybe your family doesn't have a car, you're able to go online at any point, maybe live chat with your online mentor, get advice from them, video chat with them, or talk with them on the phone. And we would like to be able to set up opportunities for there to be that human-to-human interaction as well. But in the case that students aren't able to do that, they're able to hopefully, get an internet connection either at school or at home that allows them to interact with the people that can expose them to some of their life options.
Are you guys connected with Career Village or PathSource or any of the other solutions of this sort that are out there?
We have not, but we think that this would be a great addition to the menu of options that are out there, and possibly lend support and maybe target specific groups of students that we feel need the additional support and additional resources.
And is there a way to sort of help scale that, beyond like one-to-one or?
Yeah, well,
just
Alex
like common.
Alex is the everyman. So Alex isn't just one student. We would hope to start at a school, actually, and see, maybe over a 2-year period or so. That's why we started with the 10th grade, and just see over 2 years or so, is this something that's actually scalable, and possibly expand it to other schools that have a similar interest in seeing students connect with professionals, but who maybe don't have those in-school resources to do that.
Great.
And without further ado, Team 19.
SynAPT, also known as Team 19 project, is called Full Steam Ahead, and we welcome you to join us on our journey. Our problem: how can we create greater access to STEAM opportunities? We are passionate about reframing STEM to STEAM to STEAM, an authentic and integrated way of approaching these disciplines into our curriculum. We've thought about access in 2 key ways: access to resources for communities and students, and access to curricular resources for educators. We created a mobile learning lab to allow for the mobility of resources and to integrate building bridges to bring learning to the community through connecting classroom experiences with real-life experiences. In this way, students become researchers and experts. For example, in a unit about plants, students could collect data about growing, paint pots to hold their plants, and represent this data graphically to share with a larger audience. Educators often struggle with integrating STEAM activities into typical routines because they haven't learned that way themselves, and they don't have time to develop the ideas. Because teachers would learn alongside students in this mobile lab, they would experience learning a concept in an integrated way. To conquer the issue of developing ideas, part of our professional development would be to create time for a participant adult to create new STEAM experiences that would then be housed in our cloud repository. All resources would be available to all participants, and to incentivize use of the cloud through uploading and downloading new units and projects, we'll use badging and discounts for the bus. So what does this look like in implementation? Our startup costs are approximately $20,000, with $5,000 budgeted to the purchase of a used bus, $10,000 to staffing, $5,000 to outfitting this bus. We would fundraise from local businesses and philanthropy. Our ongoing overhead should cover staffing, maintenance, and turnover of bus content. Some of overhead can be covered through fees to bring a bus to your community, as well as continued fundraising and grants. We would start by bringing full steam ahead to Phoenix, Arizona, and then scale through key points in Arizona, and hopefully across multiple states from there.
All right. Thank you so much. Questions?
Why Arizona?
Actually, that was sort of a random selection. We found a website that ranked some of the most depressed districts in the country, and I just scanned it really quickly, and there was a lot of Arizona. So.
Why is the bus essential to this model?
Mobility.
We really focused on trying to meet people wherever they were. So bring the resources in case they don't have a space in their school, or if their spaces are rigid. This would allow a little bit of flexibility. So what happens when the bus leaves? Hopefully the teachers have been so inspired by the process that they're uploading materials to the online repository so that they'll continue to teach in that way.
I think another key idea about the bus that I wanted to share that we thought is having the bus actually be part of this STEAM experience. So we were thinking if we could get a bus, if we could buy a bus or donate a bus, we could then work with a local community college to help us convert this bus so that it can be run on vegetable oil or on diesel or something like that. If a bus needs maintenance, then we could bring it to maybe a vocational technical college and they could work on the maintenance for it. So the bus itself is both bringing access literally, but also serving as a vehicle for the learning.
It's a STEAM project. The bus itself is a STEAM project.
How would you select where to go first? No, not Arizona. But you have a lot of schools in Arizona and wanted to have it there. So how you select which would be the right crowd in which school?
I think the easiest thing to do, so one of the things that I really like about the bus is that it offers the opportunity to do sort of like cross-networking. So you could start, like, let's say with a project at an elementary school, then take the bus to the middle school, then to high school. So I would actually focus on a school that has really good vertical alignment, so you could start showing people how this bus could build community both within a district, but also within teachers. Does that make sense?
What about the free time of the bus? Nobody's using it. What do you want to do?
Everybody's going to want to be using it all the
Ah,
time.
definitely. Okay, good.
It's going to be overtaxed.
Ah.
Let's keep the applause going for Team 20.
Ready? Yes. The problem. I'm a student and I'm tested all the time. Oftentimes in a similar fashion, multiple choice, some writing. Testing is boring, but my teachers feel compelled to mimic summative accountability methods. Off with my head. Help.
Okay, assessment is a necessary evil to hold teachers accountable for their students' learning. But the problem, like Andre put, is that students are over-tested, and multiple choice tests, they're not fun, they're not motivating, and they just don't really look like anything you see in the real world. The solution to this problem would be to have more creative forms of assessment. Assessments that are fun, that are motivating, that mimic situations you see in real life. So things like interviews, oral presentations, writing prompts. The problem with these types of assessments is that grading can be subjective and inconsistent, and grading can take a significantly long time. So our strategy for solving this problem is to take machine learning algorithms. And what machine learning algorithms do is they take the qualitative data that you get from these creative forms of assessments, and they turn it into the quantitative data that you need to fit into the accountability metrics that you use, like grades. So we would take this technology and we would make it accessible to teachers, teach teachers how to use it. And what this would do, it would increase the teachers' abilities to use more creative forms of assessment in their classrooms, things like interviews, oral presentations, writing prompts, because it would increase the consistency for the grading, and it would reduce the amount of time that teachers would need to spend grading in order to use these types of assessments. But there's more. So we would start small, like maybe develop a program to grade third grade writing prompts. Once we knew it worked, then we would scale up by looking into other grades, scale over the entire K-12 system, and also develop programs to grade other types of assessments like oral transcripts.
All right. Do a little electric slide to the left. Great. Thank you, guys.
The machine learning approaches require at least 100 examples in order to train the system. where would you be, what kinds of grades or subjects would you be focused on?
So we would be focused on grades in the K-12 system. So we would start small, like I said, with maybe third grade writing prompts. And the technology is improving. So there's a system that was developed this last year that doesn't require hundreds of writing samples in order to produce grades. It's getting better and better. But we would start small with maybe like a writing prompt for a third grade classroom that uses a textbook that's commonly used in like all the third grade classrooms, just to make sure that it works.
And what does the teacher lose, and what does the teacher gain?
Right, so what the teacher gains is time, the ability to use more creative assessments, a little bit more flexibility in how she or he develops his or her curriculum. What the teacher loses is a little bit of the personal aspect. He or she doesn't, go through the process of physically grading every single student's assignment. So you lose a little bit of the feedback loop, but you gain more flexibility in terms of your curriculum and the types of assessment you can use.
So do you imagine it going beyond writing? Can it go to assessing projects in some way, or I guess you write about your project and that's how it does it?
Well, so I can envision it being used to assess interviews or oral presentations in terms of projects, because all it would require is an additional piece of software to transcribe that student's speech into a transcript and then have the machine learning algorithm grade the transcript. As far as physical projects, I'm not sure.
How do you measure the intangibles in an oral transcript of body language and engagement of?
Right. So in terms of that, there would probably be some components of the project that the teacher would have to grade him or herself. It wouldn't be a be-all, end-all, and we wouldn't want it to be. We would want the student or the teacher to be somewhat engaged with the students, like project or presentation.
Let's welcome Team 21.
Okay, we're Reality to Policy. We are Helen, Mariel, and Mary. So we all know that in every community there could be more engagement for students with STEM. Taking a look at my school district, Schaumburg District 54, outside of Chicago, Illinois, we're a majority minority district. All elementary kids in our district are exposed to really rich STEM activities. Still, we find that when kids move on to the junior high, lots of girls and underrepresented minorities aren't taking advantage of those opportunities that they get at junior high. As an example, we have a GEMS program that hosts 300 students, so that's girls engaged in math and science. But what we find is that less than 10% are African American and about 15% are Hispanic.
So in districts like this, there is a door to opportunity, but not all students are going through the door. And our solution to this problem is to create a new staff position called the STEM Community Liaison. And this could be one or more people per district based on the community needs. So the STEM Community Liaisons will link the schools with STEM programs, the STEM industry that are looking for future workers, and also the families in the community. And the liaisons will create personal one-to-one relationships with the students and parents, and also provide information and resources to parents in their native language if that is needed.
So here's an example of what a liaison would do in 1 week. On Monday, you could see the liaison connecting with community partners such as hospitals, businesses, and they're connecting real-world experiences outside the classroom, so you give these children the opportunities. On Tuesday, you see the liaison visiting science classrooms and interacting with students. On the third day, on Wednesday, you see that they're reaching out to parents in their native language using bilingual flyers and also making personal phone calls. So again, you're making this real relationship with the families directly. And on Thursday, you could see our liaison communicating on the online platform. And Friday, you could see them also gathered all here at this event, again, with the partners, liaisons, the parents, and the students all around STEM events.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
How do you think the parents would react to losing the direct linkage to the teachers?
I don't think anybody is suggesting that you would lose the direct link to the parents and to the teachers, but I think what the STEM liaison would do is kind of another layer of that to say, like if we have a large Hispanic population, I'm going to call you and I'm going to speak to you in your native language, and I'm going to say, hey, we're having this great event this week. Your student has an awesome thing that they made. I hope that we'll see you there. I hope you'll come in. And then again, at the event, they're going to be there to welcome parents in, again, in their native language, so they're feeling comfortable. But definitely the teacher's going to be there too, and the teacher's always going to be, connecting with the family as well.
The liaison is more like a support to the teacher and a network between the industry and the school and the families.
But you're discriminating. So English speakers would have direct access and speak with the teachers, and non-English speakers.
No, not
they would
discriminating at all.
they would still communicate with the English speakers, but we're saying we're supplementing
I
it as
think you
well.
could have different types of family liaisons. You'd really need to look at your particular school district. So you could have liaisons that speak different languages and English speakers. I mean, the point is that you want to have access so everyone can communicate and understand.
Did you, in terms of cost sharing for this new FTE for districts, did you think about not burdening the district anymore with another hire, but cost sharing with local tech groups, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're connecting back to industry. So I think that we would hope that it would be a win-win for industry to maybe donate some money to this, as well as, what they're doing is they're letting the district know these are the skills that we need workers to have 15, 20 years from now. So they're helping to develop that workforce, those skills that people are going to need, as well as maybe giving back to the district and looking great to their community.
Wouldn't they say, I'm already paying my taxes, take it out of that?
Not necessarily. I think, corporations want to be good corporate stewards.
Give them all of our enthusiasm and our applause. 22.
All right. Good afternoon. So we are P2P Learning Tree, and we want to improve student achievement through greater student ownership and connection.
Students are thought of as passive instead of active learners in our school system. I know I've been sitting in a Latin class and a teacher who I have no connection with is almost preaching me information and half of it's going past me.
Research tells us and reveals that of all the different ways that we can have teaching and learning in classrooms and in school systems, discussion groups, practice by doing, and teaching others the immediate use of knowledge are the three best ways to improve retention and deepen learning. To do that, we're going to have to actually think about the learning environment and the thinking that we're doing in our learning.
So what if we challenge the assumption that students have to learn from expert teachers? So now imagine a different kind of school, one where students learn by teaching other students. So what would that look like? I mean, you guys, many of you are teachers in this room, and so what kind of student learning would be there if students had to stand in your shoes? So the process here, imagine a head teacher teaching, say, about 4 students, and each of them are not only taught the content, but also how to teach. They go off, they prepare their lesson plan, they get feedback from their teacher, and they go off and teach their peers, and the process continues on. And how do we manage quality in this whole system? So we're trying to build a platform around this to provide content. As you can see, we're trying to provide feedback mechanisms, analytics to find out what students know where.
And our program considers all the stakeholders because we don't essentially change anything. We still have a certified teacher who's teaching to all the current standards and assessing the students, and the same with the budget. There's very little change in that.
So this summer we'll test out the P2P model in a summer camp, evaluate and refine it, and then try it again in a after-school program, and then after that we can expand it and implement it on a larger scale.
How do you select the students in the top of the pyramid? How do you select the first 4 over there?
So we're looking at the analytics that we're collecting about students, what their interest level is, what their past experiences are, what they've really enjoyed in learning before and have gone deeper in it. And these students will rotate depending on the content, right? So we're learning about marine biology, and this is a high school class. There might be 4 students that really surface as the ones that have the interest and the background knowledge, and the teacher moves them forward. In another content area, if we're doing literature, it might be another 4 students. So everybody gets a chance to be an expert.
And our starting group would be selected by themselves in a summer program so that they've put themselves forward for it.
wouldn't you actually, aren't you creating levels of categories, like first grade students, second, and so on? Because the last ones actually are going to get the knowledge on different filters.
They'll shift. Sometimes you're the
Mandatorily
teacher,
shift.
sometimes you're the leader, sometimes you're the learner.
So you have to shift anyway.
And this wouldn't necessarily be going down in terms of grade level. This might be the same 9th and 10th grade classroom that is learning different topics. And then it would be, 3rd grade would also do this, and it would be all 3rd graders learning different topics.
And the quality of the teaching may not be worse on the bottom areas. We're not saying the best students are necessarily at the top, because it'd be based on interest in other mechanisms. So,
but now you confuse me. You said those which rise up would come in the first layer. So.
Based on interest in other things. So they're not necessarily the best students or the smartest students.
Yeah. Okay, specific.
So I'd urge you just to look at some of the things that have been done on trying to keep the status distinctions among students in balance while you're trying some of these things.
That's where the data collection piece is really key. So teachers know who's already taught 3 lessons or 3 content areas, who hasn't, issues like that.
Wait until I graduate to do something important.
I'm a teacher. I want to teach my students well, but I don't know how, and I feel like I don't have the resources.
Research shows that students can understand best when they're actively engaged in hands-on learning. This is why we want to build a social network, but for education. The DALDIS network connects all stakeholders. It allows teachers to access tutorials made by other teachers and experts that they can use for professional development. It allows students to build and share portfolios that will provide an incentive for them to be creative. And thirdly, it allows donors to access the network and see which areas their help is most needed in.
When students go into the DALDIS network, they'll see other students, they'll see what other students are making, learning, as well as many tutorials on project-based learning. They would also see so many solutions on how to solve certain things, such as public speaking and other projects.
When teachers go on, they'll learn the skills they need to do project-based learning, which is a very select set of skills, including growth mindset, how to scaffold a project, how to set up the classroom. They'll also be able to see the projects that other teachers have done and post their material needs.
And when donors access the website, they will be able to see areas where their help is most needed, because every school has a virtual presence on the network and every school has a voice to ask for exactly the sort of resources that it needs.
Our strategy is to build the platform and to spread awareness. That way we can go through the education system through having certification programs. We can use social media and advertising in education publications. We anticipate that this would take about 3 to 6 months to build the actual platform, and then another 6 months to a year to build a network that's really valuable.
Thank you so much, Team 23. If you don't mind scooting over for your design review thing.
Alright, so I'm a teacher and I'm so busy and there's so many of these resources, like why am I using this? And how am I using it?
So
in an
one
efficient way?
of the things about this website is that there's a very strong presence of experts, which is the 4th stakeholder that's connected to this website that we didn't talk about. We anticipate that it's actually a designed course, so it's not just a matter of, so first they can go through the course and then they can access individual tutorials later to boost their knowledge. And then the projects that are posted are curated, either through a rating system or through somebody actually on staff saying, that one's not quite good enough, let's get it out of the way so it doesn't distract people.
How does it go beyond the early adopter teachers to the middle of the bell curve?
What do you mean by that?
So they're going to be teachers who have incredible energy and want to do project-based learning and will buck the administration to do that. But how do you reach the next quartile of teachers?
That's a great question. So if there's a certification program that goes with the professional development that's offered here, that can be an incentive. So it can be, there's a lot of times there's professional development requirements for teachers, and if this is then certified by the state to be one of the official ways to do that, then the teachers are getting that PD, which will then enable them to go past that point of saying, I can't do this, I don't have the time to do this, because they have to do professional development, and this would be then one of the ways to help them actually realize this is something that's attainable. And in addition, if it's something that they're doing through their sort of required professional development piece, then they'll also be exposed to it in terms of the donor recognition part. So they'll realize that, again, this is something that is actually accessible because this one platform brings all the pieces.
How are you going to get started? With the content or with the social network, or how are you going to get started?
Well, as we're building the platform, I think that will be the pulling together the resources and then having to build the network once we have resources that are valuable enough to go to.
All right. Our second to last welcome to Team 24.
Alright, so often if you go into a classroom, you'll see a student and they feel meh. And if you're a teacher and you look at your class and they all say meh, it can get really hard to be excited to teach them. And students feel this way because they can't see the connections between what they're studying and the real world. And we want to change that so that instead they say things like, oh, or aha, and that's so cool. So how do we do this? How do we bring that passion? We are proposing a launch space, which is a hands-on space where teachers and students can work collaboratively on real-world projects, and they'll be really engaged and they'll want to learn. And so what does this space look like? It kind of breathes creativity. So you have tables where you can sit around and have discussions and conversations, and whiteboards and supplies for ideation, and then you have the tools that you can build and bring your ideas to life. So students will be coming with their teams, and they'll be really excited because they're working on projects that relate to the real world, whether it's through the community or through industry.
So instead of a traditional teacher-student model, this space is going to have a facilitator. And this is someone who's trained in creating a out-of-the-box thinking design atmosphere. And so because there's a facilitator who will draw from the community, from industry, and eventually train teachers, the teachers will check their identity at the door. They're going to become mentors and work with their students on team projects. And they are working together towards the same goal. And these are projects that are decided upon collaboratively between the student and the teacher, because this makes sure that A, the students are interested because they're the ones who propose these things, and B, the teachers also make sure that they accomplish learning goals that they set out at the beginning, so that these projects will complement what they're learning in their regular classes. And so deliverables. There of course be self and peer review, but also very important is to have industry critiques. People from industry, from outside communities coming in and critiquing them. And this gives them accountability and also expands their worldview.
First question for me is this built into the schools, or is this a community program? Is this out in the community? Or is
This is a space that we're going to put into the school.
Okay.
Build into, so like a extra portable full of
all the cool stuff?
All the cool stuff.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. A portable, like an actual portable, like
Yeah, like a
schools
portable-
buy the trailers and they park
like a
outside.
portable classroom, and there's going to be design space like we described, and then some tools.
It's not a truck. It's not a truck. This one's
So it can be adaptable to each environment.
So it should be have almost like a design space where you do the talking like we did over here, and then you have machine on the other side. You can go and.
But it's more long term than a truck.
Yeah.
This belongs to the
You
school,
buy
its
the,
owner.
the, the mobile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like their design space.
Who pays for it?
So because we're going to be working with community and industry, we think they will be interested because they'll have problems that they propose.
Who's they? Industry?
Yeah, industry, community.
But we think this is a really cool idea to make the connection between the concept that you learn in the class and apply it to the real world. And if it's a really good idea, I think even the parents or the town should be able to say, okay, this is something we need to adopt.
So cost shared with partners, industry partners, university partners.
How do you imagine it interfaces with what they're normally doing in school? Is it, you take a block of classes and do it there, or
So
what
they'll
happens?
take the learning goals that they have in their current classes and they'll adapt it to the projects they're working on. And so it'll be a continuation and a better way to think about what they're learning in their normal classes.
And as it evolves, they can use these projects to then like go back and figure out what is the best way I can make this project happen, and so it's more applicable.
Right, like as this goes on, teachers can like bring things, oh yeah, I can like teach this part of the curriculum in there, and so they can adapt what they're teaching in their class as well. So there's kind of like a feedback and
So we're Team 25. I'm Aditya. You're.
I'm Denise, Marsha, and Aditi.
So by the time I'm finished saying the sentence, the students already dropped out of school. That's just wrong. Just let's face it. Students like me today aren't engaged with what schools have to offer for kids. They're, as Matthew Malone said yesterday, they're teaching the same thing they did quite a few years ago. So we wanted to inspire students' creative instincts, their intrinsic motivation to learn.
Yeah, so our solution is a cross-disciplinary course prompted by students. Ben loves soccer and chemistry, and he's curious to explore both subjects, but he doesn't know how they are actually compatible. So today in class, he receives this form where he's asked what his two main interests are. So he answers, and Ben gets paired with two teachers who will guide him through his unknown journey. He'll be also organized into groups of students with similar interests. So starting next Friday, Ben will be part of Mix It Up. Ben and his classmates that are around him with similar interests will come together and start working on an independent and integrative project. This way, throughout the semester, the students will come up with their own content and manage their own projects. With Ben, with the help of his teachers, will not only fulfill existing class competencies, but also get to explore his natural curiosity and intrinsic motivation.
So basically what we want to do is we want to develop this survey that's going to ask students what they're interested in, what they want to learn about. And then we're going to create a manual for collaboration between the students and the teachers that they're going to be working with to develop their own curriculum and kind of change the teacher-student relationships that's in traditional schools. And then we're going to do this stuff.
Is this PD? Is this the core of it? You got to get teachers trained to
So
implement.
basically it's a grassroots model, and so we want to have like mix-it-up champions in every school that teach their other professionals and teachers in their school how to collaborate with students and figure out what they're interested in learning. So increasing their professional development, but also making it autonomous within the school itself.
No, I don't know the name. It'll be part of a way of schools to be like the race to the top. Sorry, the race to the top structure. So they will be encouraged to implement this project, this system, so that they can race to the top and get more funding.
Ranking based.
So it's integrated with the same course competencies that's already in the system.
Yeah.
So even though it's a new course, it's still fulfilling a lot of the systemic stuff that we already have to deal with.
Yeah, while giving students autonomy and helping teachers and students be engaged together.
With a different perspective,
Yes.
mixing two courses that would usually not be put together and
Yes. The
creating.
students are interested in.
Yeah. So, any other questions?
What happens when the two interests fall out of a purview of a school or the
Right. So there's another stakeholder that's definitely the professionals. And so when they're creating this this class, it's going to be like before the semester that they're going to take it in. So it's like, what people do we need to contact that we don't have the resources for, and how do we contact them, and who's most appropriate.
And it changes. That's why we survey students every year, because we want to be able to follow trends and have real-time learning.
Yeah. So it becomes a sustainable and always growing mechanism. Well, thank you everyone
you.
for.